My name's Kevin Bowman. I'm 31 years old. I've battled addiction since I was 14 years old. I started using trying to fit in, I guess, low self-esteem. I wasn't able to cope with people. I wasn't able to stand being around people. And I found a magic cure to that in alcohol and drugs. Um, I used to fit in, to feel comfortable. Um, my life slowly degraded at first and then just took a dive bomb from 17 on. I was in and out of institutions, jails. I did my first bit at Salem. Um, got out when I was 18. Didn't go clean. Started using that day that I got out. I joined the military when I was 19. I got in some trouble and got kicked out of the military because of my alcohol and drug abuse. Um, in and out of the system all the way up until 2012 when I got incarcerated this last time, and I broke into a house. Um, I saw an opportunity to feed my addiction, um, and then that's the worst thing that I think my addiction did to me is it made me into an animal. I no longer saw people. I didn't see feelings. I didn't see other human beings' life. I saw targets. Either you were or you weren't. But that's all you were to me. It didn't matter who you were. Um, you either were a target that I could get for a little bit of money to feed my addiction, or you weren't a target and I didn't mess with you at all. Um, Friends, family, um, they didn't exist to me anymore. Um, I burned every bridge I ever had. Rebuilt a couple simply out of manipulation, and then ended up burning them down again. Um, I broke into a house. Um, Two 19-year-old twins lived there. Brother and sister, they were in college, living in their grandmother's house, and I broke in and I stole some things, and it was in my neighborhood, so it wasn't a very hard guess. It didn't really take a lot of work for the cops to figure out who did it. They came and arrested me, and when they were driving me by, um, thank God I was sober enough to see and remember what I saw. The brother had a blanket wrapped around his sister's shoulders, and she was just bawling her eyes out. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt remorse. Um, I actually felt guilty for something that I did because I realized that what I did shattered that families. I've shattered those two people's whole idea of safety. You know, the home is the one place that we have where we should feel safe, if nowhere else. And I shattered that reality for them. And I just started bawling in the cop car, and I admitted to it. I'd been denying it up to that point, and I admitted to it. And there's a couple other felonies that came out to light because I'd been writing bad checks on my mother's account and just feeding my addiction any and every way I could, targeting people, like I said. Um, I went into the regional and I went through DTs pretty bad. Um, Once I don't really remember much from that week. All I remember is not really being able to get up. I couldn't eat for a week. I couldn't sleep. I just laid there and shivered and hallucinated, and the little bit of sleep I did get was all I could see was just this never-ending list of people that I'd hurt. That one feeling of guilt and remorse opened the floodgates for everything I'd ever done to people, and it all just came flooding back in on me. Um, about a week into it, when I started coming out of the DTs, I remembered something from breaking into that house. I had been pretty far out there when I went in, and I didn't really remember much from it. But one thing I remember is there was a to-do list on the wall, and I don't remember anything else from it. But right in the middle of that to-do list, there was a something circled with arrows pointing all around it, and it said, "Grow closer to God." And it's really funny because I had been I wasn't an atheist. I wasn't an agnostic. I believed in God. I was raised in a Christian household, and things had been getting so bad for me up to that point that I was begging God to kill me if that's what it took, to take my life if that's what it took, because I didn't want to live the way I was living anymore. I was so tired of feeling the way I felt, having to have a drink. I was a slave to it, and I hated it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was just a wreck. I was unhappy all the time. Um, Everything was in shambles. I was losing everything. I was about to be homeless again for like the fifth or sixth time in my life. So I got a Bible and I started reading. And there was a guy in the cell next to me who was really well versed in the Bible, and I started asking him questions, and I mean, I dove into it. I dove into it like I dove into my addiction. I needed it. It fed me. And I grew stronger in my faith and stronger in my faith. And from that day forward, March 5th, 2012, I began to work on myself. I began to make a change into my life. I did 18 months in the regional jail, ups and downs, but always trying to live for God. I went to Huttonsville. I believe it was in October of 2013. I got into a program called the RSAT program, and I continued to work on myself through that under the guidance of Stuart Strong and Anita Simmons. Got involved in the NA and AA programs and really started working steps and working on myself. And I just celebrated 3 years of clean time. Today my life's still a wreck. I mean, I'm still a mess. But my biggest worries today are nothing compared to what my biggest worries were. I have a genuine smile today. I'm genuinely happy today. I have a job that isn't a very well paying job, but it's a job and that I'm holding, that I'm keeping, that I don't do too bad at, that I show up for. I have friends. I talk to my family. If you're suffering with addiction, there is an answer. There is a solution. I believe that it's found through God first and through NA or AA programs. I know it worked for me.